Ooh, hello, 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 hello. So, I've went through and have watched all the videos and all of that I wanted to on the new killer, and surprisingly, my opinion has changed ever so slightly. So, I mean, there are a couple of things that I need to go over. Actually, let me just pop this up for you. I was gonna do this a little bit different, but actually, all right, not the artist. So this killer, I was a little bit wrong on some things, but like I said, I was going off of a web page. One of the main things I was wrong about, and I don't know how I missed this, is this part. Scorch Hook, Floods of Rage. Says clearly here when a survivor is unhooked from a Scorch Hook, all the other survivors have their ores revealed for 5 seconds. I don't know why I thought that was barbecue and chili. I buffed barbecue and chili or any of that. But going back to this perk, I do see that it has usability, especially because of how this particular killer operates. He operates on condemning, that is the word that I didn't know the other day, condemning survivors. 7, which I mean is obviously an ode to the 7 days. It takes 7 pips. What was I gonna say? This perk, Scorch Hook Floods of Rage, I'll bump it up a little bit from when I said it is. It isn't completely useless because it does give you precious information on, what TVs you can hit to affect said survivors, etc., etc. So in this particular aspect, this perk has a little bit more value. It's not, you know, bad or a meh perk. It fits very well for this killer's build. Would this be good on any other killers? Not a lot. Unless you're running like Devour of Hope with it. You can get that unhooked Devour of Hope third activation and have all of the survivors revealed for 5 seconds so you can immediately just down another survivor, hook them, leave, down another survivor. When they unhook, get the aura read, go after another survivor, down them, hook them. I mean, this is very good for setting up Devour of Hope. Or if you have a teleporting or speedy killer like Freddy, this would be very good on him. Because instead of relying on survivors being on gens or being near dull totems or all of that, this is just straight up or reading. But like I was saying before, why not just buff barbecue and chili instead of implementing another perk that essentially can stop barbecue and chili out? Because the only difference is you have to hook on a Scorch Hook, which generally isn't too difficult to get this ore reading on everybody for 5 seconds. Whereas you remove the Scorch Hook, you get barbecue and chili, which activates at a far distance. If you look at it from that type of standpoint, it's not balanced. Barbecue and chili needs to get buffed in some sort of way. And I mean, honestly, the easiest way to buff barbecue and chili would be to take it from 4 seconds to 3 seconds of ore reading and just make it everywhere. Or you can just replace barbecue and chili with floods of rage. There is a difference of being unhooked from hook versus on hook, but I mean, if it's when survivors unhook another survivor, that gives you a lot more information as opposed to barbecue and chili. It just gives you your next move. You should already know your next move while you're hooking. You know, as soon as you down a survivor, you should already know where you're going to be headed to next. So you should already have that pre-planned. You shouldn't just be hooking and then being like, oh, well, there's a generator over there nearby. I'm just going to go to that generator. Like, no. You should generally know, which generators went to checking, where you found a survivor, where survivors would generally be. If it's the beginning of the game, I mean, if you know spawns, you know the area that survivors are most likely going to be at. If it's mid-match, I mean, you're going to have generators that are popped, and it's going to be pretty easy to determine where they are. Due to completed generators, most survivors just go to the next generator, as opposed to spreading the love out. So you can get a very educated guess on where you need to go. And if you're using, a killer that can teleport, things like that, or any type of ranged or any type of monitoring perks, shouldn't really be that big of an issue. But this perk goes very good with, what did I say? Devour Hope. Actually disgusting, because you can hook a survivor, walk away, get the Devour of Hope token, and you are away from the hook and already headed in a direction of particularly another survivor. And by the time they take that survivor off the hook, you'll have an aura read exactly on where you need to go. You'll have the information if you use it, how many survivors are doing gens, what you need to interrupt, etc., etc. Run that with the meta perk like Ruin, or any other perks that, decrease gen time or anything like that. Then you can have, pretty effective builds with just this perk. Call of Brawn either has been changed or this is just the bare minimum of all of these. This actually does 200%, which is regular ruin at max level. So after you damage the generator, you get max ruin effect on that. The aura is revealed to you, and anytime they get a good skill check on that perk, you receive a loud noise notification. Now that mixed with Merciless Storm, with the constant skill checks at the end, can make a survivor stick a particular generator and take their focus off of you, so you can sneak up on them with this killer. So these perks are very good and very much designed around the killer, which, I mean, it's behavior. That's what they generally do. This perk forces them to take their attention away from their surroundings to hit these skill checks. Albeit little on, the higher pro players, but a whole lot more if anybody's new to medium, and amateurs still at the game. It'll take their attention away from the killer, which is somewhat hard to spot. So, takes their attention away, punishes them if they let go. Now, keep in mind that if a generator is blocked, it will not regress. So these two are anti-perks, but they work together in what they do quite well. Any generator that's blocked will not regress. It is one of the most important things you should realize. And then Floods of Rage gives you the ability to teleport to a particular survivor, increasing their pips. You teleport to a survivor, you chase them as they're pipping up. If they have a tape, even better. But you're chasing them as you're chasing them. Instead of following them in a straight line, you want to zone them towards TVs. And then you want to teleport to set TV. Or you want to pre-teleport as they're running straight and come out in front of them. Because the TV teleportation is It's quite quick. 7 is still kind of ridiculous because if they grab the tape and put it into the other TV, generally it'll get rid of pretty much all of the condemn that they have. The only good thing about that is it's going to take time to do so, and while you're carrying the tape, your condemn goes up faster. However, when you make it all the way in, the condemn essentially almost gets wiped out, making it still kind of off balanced. Now, it'll punish anybody that's gen rushing over, getting rid of that condemn. But I mean, once you max out, you're not forced into a max state. You can easily just get the tape, put the tape in, and then drop your condemn all the way back down. Which is kind of, I hope, I didn't see any of the add-ons or any of that, but I hope there's an add-on that once a survivor gets to maximum condemn, that it prevents them from getting rid of it. So it forces them to make that choice. Almost like Pig. Make the choice. To either stick that gen, go for exit gates, or get that killer instinct on you and get that maximum condemn. I would be fine dropping the killer instinct and just getting a small notification when they get to their max state, and then that'd be it. I would be fine with that being on an iridescent thing, getting rid of the killer instinct completely. And just getting, a symbol letting you know that somebody's reached max thing. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'll have to find them and all that, but it is what it is. But yeah, this with Devourer of Hope or running Rancor. Rancor works very well on this particular killer because you're going for mini Moris, scaring the shit out of survivors, condemning them. And then if you don't pursue the obsession towards the end, you can clean up by knocking them down and mooring them out. It's a very good cleanup perk. I mean, that's what Rancor is a cleanup perk. You leave the obsession till last, kill everybody else out, and instead of playing, the hatch game and all of that, finding the survivor, you have a cleanup perk like Rancor. You go over to them because you know where they're at. You hit them because they're exposed, then you moor them to get the full clear. Especially with the ability of teleportation, you can get the Rancor on somebody fairly easily. And the closer they are to a TV, the less of a chance they have to escape. So, very worthwhile. One thing that I wanted to test on this is this particular thing. It says when a survivor is unhooked from a Scorch Hook, all of that. I don't know if it counts on like deliverance or anything like that. I assume it does because it's a self unhook, but nobody ever tested it, so I don't know. Because if it doesn't work, if they have deliverance, that would be a very good counter to this phenomenal perk. you know, if deliverance could counter Devour Hope, if deliverance could counter this perk and other perks that strictly say if a survivor is unhooked from a Scorch Hook or unhooked in general. If deliverance and slippery meat, if they ever buff that shit, can be used to get off hook and counter those particular perks, that would be a very big thumbs up. So you're not forced to just take that. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you have Devour of Hope and you have Deliverance, you're going to instantly pop off before they get too far anyway because you don't want them to get the token. But it'd be nice that you didn't have to force yourself to essentially end your own game trying to save the rest of your teammates because Devour Hope, you know, tokens. But I mean, for the most part, I still stay on the same. This killer is not a very strong killer in means of pursuits and securing downs, unless you are a tryhard. Amateur games with amateur plays, people are gonna have a hard time playing this killer. The only good thing about it is she's so stealthy and doesn't have any slowdown going in and out of her manifestations that, you know, it's just there. There's no slowdown, so there's no speed up either, like a Wraith, but there's no slowdown. So you can get right up on a survivor as you're demanifesting or demanifesting. Run around the corner, demanifesting. By the time you get to the survivor, boom. Or no, you're manifesting. Manifest, and while you're running at a survivor, and by the time you get to the survivor or around the corner, you're fully manifested. You keep going, and you can get that slap on a survivor. I see a lot of people still walking up to two survivors before they manifest and still getting hits, even without any type of boost or anything like that. That speed that you keep is the key with that. Very terrifying killer, very graphically well intensive, things like that. That stays the same. I'd still say she's a C killer. People will probably main her. Somebody will probably main her just for the lulls and the hard mode of Dead by Daylight. But I mean, if you're not acclimated with the game and able to, use all the techs and fakes and everything else as a killer, you're not going to have a good time with this killer. It's good for role playing. If you're looking for role playing and not looking for hard W's, then help. Is that hey or help, Galanonim? I think that is help. Oh, hello. Damn, I sound like a bot. I thought that said help. I was like, well, she. Hello, what's going on? So this killer, I'm still gonna say is about average, and that's solely due to the point that she can teleport. She has a method of movement that's faster. Only problem with that method of movement is if you're not running, good add-ons and things like that, once you use that method of movement, it turns off and it's deactivated for a little bit of time. So if a survivor, say you run into two survivors on a particular generator, one survivor chases you off into the sunset while the other one works on a gen. You down that survivor and then you hook them and you're trying to get back to that TV. If X amount of time, all determined by add-ons, hasn't passed, you cannot teleport back over to that generator like if you were Freddy or something like that. You have to wait on that cooldown or walk your happy ass back over to that generator. That is what really keeps her from getting from a C or anything higher. Plus, she has no chase. She has no type of chase pressure at all. Yeah, you can teleport in front of somebody and cut them off, but there is a sound that plays. Any survivor that listens and pays attention, that's vigilant, hears that you teleported, all you have to do is just turn around and essentially run to where you were. Do a U-turn and run straight out the back. Thankfully, I don't need any help. I know, right? Since nobody recently posted anything on my perk idea with additional time, I'm actually surprised that forum died because they were going ham for a long time and not one of them understood what you were trying to say. And it just blew my mind how people can just bandwagon so hard and be so wrong. But you know, what songwriters and influencers and things like that always say is you can have a million screaming fans, and all a million screaming fans can be morons. That's the bandwagon effect. But that's the life of an influencer. You can say something completely wrong, and a lot of people will believe you, even if they know that it's straight up wrong. They'll question themselves, their own sanity, just to try and prove that you were right. Some people will completely deny that you're wrong, and they'll be like, "Oh no, they're right. Everything they said's been right. It all checks out." Yep. And nobody will check any facts. Gotta love it. Anyways, Killer still gets a C. She's decent. Everybody likes her. She's gonna sell off her popularity. Things like that. A large group of people who are wrong. Uh, that's like the American way, though. A large group of people who are wrong, yep, can overwhelm a person who is right. That is true. And that's happened again and again and again in history and happens on a daily basis. One of the funny things about it is the alpha male thing. Alpha males actually do not exist. I use it as a reference just to kind of piss people off and ruffle their feathers, ruffle their jimmies by calling them a beta or something like that. Alpha and beta doesn't exist. People have just taken a concept of essentially narcissism, being better than somebody, being in this mindset while you're not of that mindset. So, it's a form of bullying, it's a form of narcissism, things like that. To try to get one over on somebody, to try to feel like you're better than somebody. And they throw out the words alpha and beta. I know it pisses off a lot of people, so I'll literally just do like, "You're a beta." And they'll get so mad, "I'm not a beta." It's like alpha and beta don't exist. The fact that you're getting mad about it proves that you actually think that you're a beta when it don't exist. There is no alpha, beta, sigma mindset, none of that. That's all classifications of unintelligent, bandwagon, completely wrong human beings. Don't exist. If you want proof, look it up. The first person that put out the alpha concept was talking about a pack of wolves. He made a mistake and still to this day is still tried to change and say that the alpha concept that he made was wrong. But people, oh, I can get over on somebody by saying this and that and all of these other personality things and things like that. And it's like it don't exist. Like when somebody's like, "Oh, well, you're acting white, or you're acting black, or you're doing this, and you're acting Hispanic, or you're acting Asian." You're not acting like any particular race because a race is just a race. It has nothing behind it. Kind of funny though. Instead of those whole alpha, beta, and sigma concept, I prefer 16 personalities concept. It's not perfect, but it's often accurate. Yes, a lot more accurate than the alpha and beta and all of that. Well, I mean, they don't exist. Due to popular demand, and like you said, a whole bunch of people overwhelming somebody who was actually right, they try to force that in. I mean, even in college, you have, Alpha College, Beta College, Ohm College, Sigma Beta, all this other types of different colleges and things like that that have adapted those terms. that don't mean anything. I mean, they do mean something. I mean, obviously, alpha has more than just alpha. You know, alpha means a whole bunch of different things, but you know what I mean. Mm. But yeah. Mm. Um, I think this whole alpha concept is also a justification of an aggressive people that can't control their issues. Yeah, their impulses. Mm-hmm. That is exactly the personality of an alpha, is somebody who can't control their impulses. Very impulsive, can't control what you do. You gotta say what you gotta say, you know. You're always in somebody's face, things like that, and people are like, oh no, I don't have issues, I'm just an alpha. It's like, no, you can't control your impulsive, so you're super aggressive, you say whatever comes in your mind, you're disrespectful, but you know, you cover all of this up saying that you're an alpha, that's your ego talking. Take a step down from your high stool and see that, hey, you're causing grief to people around you. And you're trying to candy coat it by saying that you're typically better than they are, you're stronger than they are, you're built different, you're more confident, you're top of the, you know, things like that. Since you know they're an alpha, it's not a man thing, it's a trait of a child. I wouldn't even disrespect children and say it's a trait of a child. It's a trait of a fool, an idiot, somebody who just doesn't know. I haven't taken specifically a 16 personalities test, like the actual official test, but I've taken personality tests that try to match you up to one of those. I always come out with multiple different personalities, but I mean, it makes sense because of how I am. My personality is based off my mood. I can be caring, I can be uncaring, I can be happy, I can be sad, I can be all over the place. I can be a multitude of things, or I can be nothing at all. So when they give me tests like that, and every time I take the test, I get different answers, I get different personalities coming back. But I mean, being like I am and the huge foul that I have on me, it makes sense. And then the funny thing about it is, they tried to classify that personality with a personality, and I'm like, you're not understanding. What it says that this particular personality has and the traits and all of that that's associated with it, I don't have that all the time. Like when people are doing the dumb, what's your zodiac sign? Oh, well, you're this, so you're that, that, and that. And I'm like, well, I might be that, that, and that on a Monday, but, or on a Monday afternoon, but, you know, Monday morning, I'm this. And then Monday evening, I'm this, you know? I don't know. It's just weird. The personality test generally doesn't accurately depict what I am. It just kind of predicts, or I wouldn't say predicts. I wouldn't say predicates either. It it's basically like a mood test to me, how I'm feeling at the moment. Very good at narrowing down my mood, but not very good at narrowing down my personality. That is true. Personalities do often change. Not as much as mine does, but they do. Indeed. Change quite a lot. And depending on if you're a Freudian or Neo Freudian, they change as you go through life, who you're around, the people you talk to and communicate on a daily basis, or the Freudian aspect of that. Your personality is already predefined into your code. No matter what you do, you can't escape it. It's already predefined for you. So even though your personality changed, that's just part of the coding that your body has that you mature into. Either or, whichever way you particularly see life. And I'm not going to go any deeper than Neo-Freudians and Freudian because it gets way deeper, but this ain't a lecture. The Grudge. Jesus Christ, they literally just. I mean, they haven't even implemented it. It's in public test beta, and people are already saying, oh, we'll get this movie next. Like, geez, bask in what you have. Killer concept, deceit. If this is from the game, I'm skipping it. Really? The first thing you're gonna pop up is Mori's. Also, Memento Mori means memory of the dead, by the way, because Mori means dead or death. Memento, I mean, everybody knows what a memento is. So please don't put Memento Mori and then put down a way somebody dies. It's not what that means. Glad I could talk for a bit. Gonna have to finish some work for today. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. It's always nice to have side conversations because I mean, I already know what I'm gonna say about these posts I'm going over. You already know what I'm gonna say, so it's nice having fresh content. March should be a lighter month for me, so I should have more time. Hey, that's nice to hear. But hey, instead of stopping by here, take breaks, go have fun, go do things, man. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm positive. Yeah, that's it. Just do you. You feel like stopping by? Well, I ain't been here as often, but I'm generally here in some shape or form. See, don't overwork yourself. All right, killer is terror. The terror would be more of a better title than just terror, because there's terror radius and other terms that use terror in the game. So the terror, height, medium, maps, lumberyard, forest, asylum. Um, actually, you know what? I'm not gonna even worry about it because maps isn't the way you say maps. It makes you think that you have three full maps for this killer. Because there's Dead by Daylight's maps in parentheses are separated into realms. So you have a basic map like Red Forest or Otto Haven's Wreckers or Leroy Memorial or things like that, Haddonfield, Spring, Then you have realms that exist, inside of those particular maps where you get the different variants of maps and different things, etc., etc. Range of tear radius 28 meters, speed of 4 meters per second. Do you realize survivors have the speed of 4 meters per second? So if a survivor sees you at a distance and runs in a straight line away from you, you will not ever gain any distance. If you are in chase, Wherever the survivor starts, they are going to stay ahead of you. And I'd hate to tell you it, but survivors can take corners a lot sharper than killers can. So they're probably going to slowly gain distance unless they're looking backwards and run into something. So to decrease yourself to 4 meters per second and leave your tear radius, which it just says range of radius, by the way, not tear radius, at 28 meters or meters, you are going to have a hell of a time trying to catch up to survivors. Also, what the hell is cooldown roar? That makes no absolute sense. What are you talking about? Being able to cool down a roar. Unless you're trying to write some sort of code form. Roar would have to be defined up here as to what roar is equal to. Cooldown roar is a syntax error or a compilation error. Again, memento mori, memento shouldn't be there. It should just be mori. Tears are people infected by virus, which in darkness transforms them into one of 5 really dangerous creatures. Okay. Definitely, if you want to use the word tears, then make it night tears or some sort of special tear. Deceit terror, night terror, zombie terror, vine terror, fat terror, crawler terror. Anything like that would run better than just leaving it as tear. Especially if you want to take advantage of all 5 1 to 5 dangerous creatures. Each terror is going to need its own different classification. Abilities: Decoy, Experiment. Why name it Decoy and then put Experiment in parentheses? Like, you're not making sense and you're not clearly defining things. You're jumping all over the place. Why have the word Decoy if its name is Experiment? Get rid of Decoy, leave Experiment. Or add Experimental Terror, or Decoy Terror, or something like that. Experiment, not Decoy, Experiment is the creature that appears after mutation more often, but his ability is actually strong. Experiment can create a clone, which will chase a survivor if killer will track him. If the killer will create a decoy without target, he will just run in front. After 10 seconds, Decoy disappears. Decoy is seen by killer with white aura. Survivors can destroy a decoy by throwing a pallet or blinding him with flashlight or torch. Ability, just put blind him. It doesn't matter if it's a flashlight, flashbang, blast mine, whatever. Just blind. Ability refreshes when terror will drink a bag of blood. Now, this is where you're going to run into a problem, and when I keep harping over people about order, you keep mentioning bag of blood, bag of blood, bag of blood, bag of blood, bag of blood. Let's see. Where are we specifically mentioning bag of blood? Here, all the way in the bottom. Once I went through the perks and all of that, this is where the bag of blood comes into play. Why, instead of listing something that's referenced in everything after it, why not put the bag of blood before this? So I know what the bag of blood is, and I know that the bag of blood refreshes everything. Then when I'm reading through, and seeing everything, and I see ability refreshes when Terror will drink a bag of blood. One, you can shorten this. Because you don't need any of this repeating words or any of that, because you can say that all abilities refresh only by drinking a bag of blood here. Then you have abilities coming next, and then you know that all of these abilities refresh after drinking a bag of blood. If you want to include it, this, you can use an italicize, or the boy. You can italicize this particular thing, space it, enter it, put it in a line underneath it. Maybe put it in parentheses. I mean, italicizing it will work. And keep it separate, as like extra change that isn't part of your main statement. And anything that isn't relevant, you can put down at the end and explain everything after all of this has gone through. So your explanation of everything that isn't listed up above, that isn't really relevant to the situation, should be here. And then the blood bags should be posted up here. Because I caught this early, I can just scroll down and read the bag of blood and then go on from there, but I shouldn't have to. So if in the game it's Terror on the map will appear bags of blood, which can be drank by Terror when he uses his ability to refresh it. The ability is ready to use, Terror can't drink it. Bags of blood are refreshed after repairing one of the generators. After one of the generators are repaired. On the map can appear 6 bags of blood. Killer can use add-ons to increase the number. Again, this is your extra relevant information, which would be fine down here in the bottom in its own, area. That killers can use add-ons to increase the number of bags of bloods, or you can include this with that up there. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you would assume that there would be add-ons to increase blood spawns, because it's kind of one of the obvious things since the killer relies on it. But I mean, this would be good at the bottom, but with all the other not relevant to this information. In the future, thinking of implementing add-ons that increase the number of blood bags, just stating the obvious, but it's in like is it like a subscript? Superscript, subscript, whatever it's called, in the bottom that isn't relevant to anything that people can just read tidbits of. It'll stop people from commenting, well, I wish you had add-ons that did this. You can let them know that, all the other extra ideas that you either want to implement or that you're thinking in your head without having to fully implement them. And you can get people's feedback from that way. Oh boy. So Decoy, you shoot a clone out that runs straight for 10 seconds and disappears if it doesn't get a survivor. If the clone sees a survivor, it initiates chase for 10 seconds. At least I'm assuming it's a 10-second timer, whether or not it sees a survivor or not. It doesn't say otherwise. It just says one thing, 10 seconds, decay disappears. Not very strong on the decay. You say also, I like the fact that you say that experiment is the creature that appears after or appears more often than the other forms, because that kind of lets you know that you don't get to choose your particular mutations. So that kind of is kind of an open to that. But also with your abilities, you need to define whether or not it is a ability swap type thing where you can choose what you're using, or if it's just going to be a random thing, you know. You use your ability, you go get blood bag. You use ability again, you go get blood bag. You use ability again, go get blood bag, and each time it's random. Obviously, if you're going with the random, it's going to take a while for people to be able to identify which individual thing does what. So you are going to need some sort of indicator on screen that gives the person a hint to what they can do. I'll be back in 1 second. All right. Hold on me. Well, yeah, I was saying, if you're going to have it random, you're going to need to have some sort of hopeful on screen display. Like, for example, oh boy, for Decoy, you can have sort of like the artist's when she's putting crows down that run. It gives you that little line, something like that. The Yeti. Cold as ice, hard as rock, seriously. Yeti can be resisted by any damage for 20%, but makes him 15% slower. Ability refreshes after Terror drinks a bag of blood. Again, ability refreshes after Terror drinks a bag of blood. Should definitely be stated either up or down and not put on every single one. It'll shorten this a little bit. Um, you're already at 4 meters per second, and you're gonna slow it by another 10%. So that's like 0.6. 0.6 even slower than that. So you're going to be looking at 3.4 meters per second in this Super Yeti form. So because you're doing something like this and you are having a base speed of 4 meters per second, you need to completely rework this. Absolutely, positively, completely rework this. Because if I go and I drink a blood bag and I get frozen Yeti, I'm going to then have to go find and drink another blood bag. And that's if that's possible, because it says that if the ability is ready to use, Terror can't drink it. So that's if I can even go and get rid of this frozen Yeti or this Yeti form. Nobody's gonna want to play a Yeti at all. Yes, you can resist damage for 20 seconds, which I mean, you know, you can't be pallet stunned and all of that, but being 15% slower, they're not gonna need to throw pallets. You don't have any ranged attack to try and compensate that makes it OP, like he can, you know, pick up and throw a gigantic rock at a survivor or something crazy, you know, that has a decent hitbox, you know. Because all you have is this invulnerability tank effect that can't catch a survivor. You couldn't catch them by base, you definitely can't catch them now. Now they're gaining distance on you. And for as long as you're in this form and have no type of ranged attack or anything like that, survivors are just going to run circles around you. Literally. And there's nothing you're going to do or be able to do. You literally just run. You don't have to use pallet. You don't have to use loop. You can literally just run circles around objects. And he's going to lose you and not be able to keep up. Terrible idea. This whole thing needs to be rebalanced based off of that. I see 50% faster here, things like this. Essentially, you want a whole bunch of different effects based off this. Let me toss you an idea. Don't use this idea, but a sort of system. You have 6 blood bags. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. How's about the more blood that you drink, the different forms you get? So you would have to put all 5 of these into a list. When you drink 1 blood bag, you get Decoy. When you drink 2, you get Yeti. When you drink 3, you get Vampire. When you drink 4, you get Werewolf. When you drink 5, you get Spider. Type of thing. Have it a way for the effects to, you know, appear. Like, for example, hooking a survivor. Anytime you hook a survivor, a blood bag, you know, can essentially fill up. You hook a survivor, if they're on hook for, I don't know, 30 seconds or so, the blood bag fills completely. You know, 30 seconds worth of accumulation. A blood bag fills up, you walk over to the hook with a survivor on it or without a survivor, probably without a survivor on it to get rid of camping. And you pick up the bag and you drink the bag. So as you continue to hook survivors, you can continue to get blood bags off of survivors. Once you get a blood bag from a survivor on a particular hook, obviously the bag isn't going to respawn till a generator is completed, like you already have situated. And then from there, create, you know, a sort of scaling system to where you're not just going to get RNG'd into a role that you don't want at that particular moment. And then being like, oh, well, shit sucks. Also, this ability refreshes after drinking a bag of blood. You only get one use out of this particular ability, or the time limit on the Yeti, obviously. If you only get one use, or it only lasts for a particular couple of seconds, and then the effect is gone. Why? Because you're forcing yourself now to go get blood bags. There's only 6 in the map, so they're gonna be spread out kinda far. And they don't come back till a gen's being done. So you have to go out of your way to get a blood bag, drink a blood bag, then you have to go and pursue, or pursue, and try to down a survivor in a short amount of time. It's not gonna work without any type of advanced movement or something like that. So your times are kind of super short for everything you have to do. Let's see. Essentially, long story short on the abilities, just redo them into a better system instead of letting RNG and then only getting a time limit on ability or one use of an ability. Redo your system. Don't do what I said. That was just a spitball idea. What I said would take a long time to implement and balance. I do not recommend. Perks. Bloodthirst. When you are chasing a survivor, you can't wait after their blood to fall on the floor. When you chase a survivor, bloodlust will appear 30, 45, 60 faster. Seconds? Because you can get bloodlust 3 way faster than 60 seconds. So I'm not understanding what you're getting there. You need to specify a small limit. 4 seconds, 5 seconds. You would be better off specifying a percent. Bloodlust will appear 30% faster, 45% faster, 60% faster. I don't know. I don't know if you're going for a guaranteed bloodlust after 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 60 seconds of a chase as a backup for long chases. Or I don't know if you're trying to make the bloodlust appear percentages faster. You would think percentages faster, but 60% faster doesn't make any goddamn sense. Is where I'm coming from. Bloodlust appears 60% faster. You would literally gain bloodlust within the first couple of seconds of a chase. It doesn't take long to get bloodlust tier 1. And then you're shortening the others to get bloodlust tier 2 and 3. The blood points category in Hunter will be higher by 60%. It's just kind of a passive. You should never go over 10% or anything like that, because I mean, obviously, it's going to throw off the balance of everything. It's just supposed to be a small passive, not a boost of 60%. Keep it at like 5-10%. You don't need a huge amount of blood point boostage. If you play a good game, a 10% boost, you mean you'll get like 30, 35,000 points. At 30,000 points, 10% is an extra 3,000. That's at 10%. 50% would be an extra 15,000 on top of it. 60% is another 10% on top of that. Like, that's crazy. Plus, if you play a cake or somebody plays a streamer or something like that, you're now at 160% blood points. I am not 100%. No. I was going to say I'm not sure if medals are reliant upon blood points, but they aren't. Now that I think about it, he's not entirely reliant upon them. So I don't think it's really going to do anything medal wise and rank wise, but yeah. 30% is too much. 60% just makes you go, really? Keep it at like 5-10%. Monstro Mutations. Your virus mutated and started to attack survivors after contacting with living organisms. When you hurt a survivor, he gets one random bad status effect for 10, 20, 30 seconds. Perk refreshes after 100 seconds. I understand the mutations in blood and all the effects that you're trying to have, but 30 seconds of a random bad status effect, you realize that if you don't specify on hindered and things like that, it would be a 0% roll on hindered. And they'd see that they're hindered, but they wouldn't actually be experiencing hindered. So you definitely need to extend this out and show what each of the random effects are that can be rolled with this and how much of an effect it's going to be. Because I can't give a stamp of approval and you have in mind like a, 30% hindered status effect for 30 seconds. Some status effects shouldn't last 30 seconds. So you can't just say random bad status effect for 30 seconds. Like the oblivious status effect for 30 seconds sucks, but okay. But exposed status effect for 30 seconds is completely different. Or broken status effect for 30 seconds is completely differently weighed. Also, you definitely don't want to leave that on a regular perk because of how complicated you're going to have to make that shit. If we're talking about infecting blood and things like that, there's something called a Scorch Hook that curses survivors that are thrown on it. What something else then to get, mutated and everything else than, a special kind of mutated hook, aka Scorch Hook. Scorch Hook can give you a random bad status effect that procs after you get taken off the hook, and can even proc on the survivor that took them off the hook for half the amount of time. There are a lot of status effects in Dead by Daylight, and there are some hidden ones that aren't generally talked about. So just keep in mind when you're rolling, not everything's going to work good with 30 seconds. So again, you're going to have to extend this out for every single status effect you want to be able to be rolled. You're going to have to give percentages and times based off each individual one. So this should be your last perk. At the bottom, you should have a table set of all of that if you want to go that way. And yeah, just kind of balance everything accordingly. This perk. X virus among us. Entity took a sample of virus, then modified him and moved into a totem. Now, something affects the actions of your obsession. Obsession becomes slower by 20%. Here is another example of you're the one that made your killer slow. Do not make another survivor slow because your killer is slow. But the funny thing about all of that is the fact that a survivor who is slowed 20% loses 0.8 speed, so they're going to be running at 3.2 meters per second. If we go back up to the Yeti, he moves at 15% slower. So the Yeti's literally just going to be 5% faster than you are, which is like 0.2 meters per second faster than you are. And all the others 0.8. Now, not only is the obsession going to be slowed by 20%, if they fail a skill check, their aura becomes visible for 15 seconds. 15 seconds is ridiculous. Nobody needs ore reading for 15 seconds. Way too high. When your obsession goes into interaction, progress is slower by 40%. We say actions, not interaction, but I think I understand what you're saying. Perk activates when totem is destroyed. So, you're saying that from the start, the obsession's not even going to know what's happening to them. When somebody takes out the totem, bam, the obsession's just going to randomly just get absolutely slapped and not be able to do anything. Interactions go through healing progress. And I'm going to round this up to 50% just to make it easier. It's going to take them an extra 40 seconds to do generators, an extra 8 seconds to heal. If they're using self-care, good luck. You'll never be able to heal with self-care. You could complete a gen roundabouts that time. Yeah, they got 3/4 of a gen, but still. They're not going to be able to do anything. Totems are going to take forever. It's going to take like 21 seconds to do. Exit gates are going to take forever and a half to do. It's going to be a ridiculous amount of time for them to do everything. So you're essentially making the obsession useless. You are completely taking a survivor out of the equation. I wouldn't say completely, but you're really hard nerfing them and making it to where they ain't gonna be able to do anything. That's crazy. All when a totem is destroyed. I mean, obviously, if you're gonna run this particular hex, you're gonna be running, other hexes, haunted ground, things like that on top, Can't really run Hex Undying, unfortunately, but you can still run Haunted Ground with this Hex and things like that, Ruin and all the other lovely hexes that survivors that aren't experienced at the game will immediately go for. And trying to get these activations. And once they trigger it, boom, the obsession's not even worth going after. He's going to be hindered by 20% permanently. There is no time activated to this, which is another problem. Permanently to the end of the trial. Slowed by 20%. Any skill checks that he missed, and imagine going or putting this on the new killer, Sadako. At 90%, you get skill checks back to back, back to back. It taking you 40% longer to do that. That's like an extra like 4 seconds worth of back-to-back skill checks. And if you miss any of those skill checks, your ore is going to be revealed and the gen's going to be blocked for 16 seconds. Absolutely, positively ridiculous. So no, it needs to be reworked heavily. It's only got 2 posts. That's probably why it's so OP. Cool. Cool. Deleted the post, like actually deleted. Deleted post. Post edited on February 17th. Apparently, they did not like the idea of whatever. And okay. Well, I hope you didn't say anything stupid or embarrassing. It's a good thing I hadn't been on the last couple of days, or I probably would have picked that up. Candyman Killer, this is an old concept. That's the guy with the bees and all of that, correct? Yeah, the mirrors and all of that. It's not the one I thought it was, but yeah, yeah. Why are we replying on old posts? Like, it's February 10th, you're going all the way back and you're questioning somebody, something that happened October of last year. What's your objective here? Why are you going back that far and commenting on other people's posts? And why would they take the time to reply back to you on something they probably don't even remember? He either got his pictures deleted, by the way, because I think it is the guy with the bee and all of that in the pictures, the mirrors and all of that. All of the pictures on that have gotten deleted out, so a mod must have hit him or something. He got clapped. And then to put insult into injury, a couple of months later, somebody's asking you things about this concept. Like, you probably don't care. I would be surprised if he actually replies back. I rework slash buff some of the underused killer perks. Mm-hmm. Just because it's underused doesn't mean that it needs a buff or needs a reworking. Predator. Scratch marks left by survivors spawn considerably close together. Predator was completely fine. Absolutely, positively, completely fine. Scratch marks last for 10 seconds. If you have problem, following scratch marks or anything like that, that is a perk designed to help you with the visual effects and all of that that are in the game. It's not meant to be a meta perk or anything like that. It's an assistant perk for people that just either have trouble seeing scratch marks or something like that. That's all it's made for. If you don't have trouble following scratch marks, like any type of, like physical limitation or even mental limitation, any type of limitations to seeing them, or you play the game long enough and you just learn how to follow them or predict survivors, then you wouldn't use this perk anymore. So this is an assistant perk or a training wheel perk for anybody that's new that has problems looking at scratch marks and following them. You added in, you hear breathing and injured sound louder. While in chase, if you're in chase, it doesn't matter if you hear them or not. Plus, Strider and all of that is a thing. Your red stain is reduced by 35%. The red stain's already short. Why reduce the red stain when you can just give them the undetectable status effect, or while in chase, give them the oblivious status effect and just get rid of the red stain? You know what I'm saying? You can just get rid of it completely. Get rid of the tear radius. Get rid of, all of that. So you took Strider and then you added in some bullshit on top of that on a perk to try to make this usable. This is not the way you rework a perk. You don't add other perks to another perk and call it a rework. That's not a rework. That is combining perks together and then writing some bullshit about red stain being reduced by 35%. No, not how you do that. You only have one post, and your one post is absolutely positively, as of now, garbage. And Q, you're being kind of mean. You're grudging it too harshly. I'm not. I hate when people do this. They come to the forum and they immediately start popping off all of these dumb ideas that everybody's already seen 1,000 times. Browse the forum, look at the content and things that people make before you start contributing. See the flow chart of everything, see the comments, get acquainted. Don't just hop in and then start going post crazy, because you're gonna get clapped. Rework Monster Shrine. To the start of trial, 2 random hooks are changed into Scorch Hooks. Monster Shrine is not a Scorch Hook perk. Why are you Scorch Hooking Monster Shrine? It's literally focused around anybody that utilizes basement. Why in the world? I'm just shaking my head. I'm gonna give myself whiplash. Just why do I have to go over this? I mean, I'm going to, but why? Everybody knows this is garbage. One Scorch Hook is now able to hang 2 survivors. We talking at the same time? The auras of Scorch Hooks are revealed to you in white. The auras of Scorch Hook are revealed to survivor while being carried. Each time a survivor is hooked on a Scorch Hook, defiling effects applies. Survivors are unable to unhook themselves. Accelerate sacrifice progression by 3% for each survivor on Scorch Hook. All Scorch Hook's related perks will combine with Scorch Hook monster shrines, then you'll know blah 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 blah. Again, you took something and you made it, I don't know, it goes all the way up here, and you made it garbage. Absolutely, positively garbage. One Scorch Hook is able to hang 2 survivors, huh? So I can hook 2 survivors on 1 hook. Or you can only hook 2 survivors on that hook and then that hook's just gone. Either way, you are changing how Scorch Hook works, which is changing a core mechanic of Dead by Daylight. Can't do that, buddy. 2, Jake Park has a perk called Saboteur. Whenever a survivor is being carried, the ore are revealed to him. The survivor being carried doesn't matter where the hooks are, whether or not they're being put on a Scorch Hook or anything like that. Does not matter. They're being carried. The only thing they can do is activate a perk and escape, wiggle and escape, or wait for another survivor to help them escape, or take that hooking. Does not matter. Irrelevant. The ores of Scorch Hooks are revealed to you in white. Obviously. I mean, like, it's so bad. So you have the regular things from Monster Shrine. Survivors are unable to unhook themselves. So you're taking the fact that you have these supercharged basement hooks, you're taking them and putting them out on the field, and then you're making it to where survivors can't unhook themselves on them. Why not just have a separate Scorch Hook perk that prevents survivors from being able to unhook themselves? And then give that a passive of something else and create a completely unique hook as opposed to taking something and arguably buffing it. Because some people would see that as a nerf, especially basement camp and bubbles that do use Monster Shrine, are going to see that as a nerf. Other killers might see it as a buff. I'm not really I don't see it. Because, I mean, even if it was a 10% increase in sacrifice progress, that's 6 seconds per phase. 12 seconds total if they're on the hook from beginning to end being taken off. That's at 10%. 5% would be 3 seconds. Half of 3 is 1.5, so we're just going to say 2 seconds. Your sacrifice progression is going to go up 2 seconds for each survivor on a Scorch Hook. Not very much. Not very much at all. So if you're on a hook and another survivor goes on a hook, you'll accelerate by 2 seconds. Oh no, a whole 2 seconds went. Oh no, oh, woe's me. I lost 2 out of 120 seconds. You know what I'm saying? Not very helpful. It's not a buff because in all of these, you're not buffing the actual perk. You're just adding things to it and changing it. But the perk itself is not being buffed or reworked. You're still keeping the sacrifice advancement roundabouts the same. The scratch marks left below that spawn closely together. That's not a rework because the perks being left absolutely the same. You're just doing things to it. You're not reworking shit. Reworking is going back in and rebalancing it towards, updated, newer, game mechanics and seeing if it's still balanced for the equation. Whether it needs to be buffed, whether it needs to be nerfed, whatever. Changing things here or there, reworking it, taking it down, taking it apart, making it do other things, etc., etc. We're changing things. Buffing is just making it better. Reworking can be good or bad. It's garbage. Territorial imperative. It's a very good perk. Huntress's perk. Anybody that goes into the basement and the Huntress is within a particular distance of it, he knows. A lot of people go to basement to get that basement chest. It's a very strong perk that requires you to be within a specific distance. When a survivor enters the basement, you benefit from the following effects. So, loud noise, notification. Boom, you know that they're there. Undetectable status effect for 16 seconds. Why? The aura of the survivor within the basement is revealed for you for the next 3 seconds. You already know that they're there. The aura of all survivors within the basement locker is revealed to you for the next 3 seconds. How? Killer instinct is the only way to get through that, or if it's a barbecue and chili effect that's already hit you, then you jump in a locker. Then you're being revealed. Or when you go out of a locker, you can get revealed. Take to the game mechanics. Then you're only going to give it a cooldown of 20 seconds. It takes longer than that to get into the basement, open a chest, and gets back out. So you're going to get 2 activation of this if a survivor goes down into its particular basement. In most cases. And God help if they decide to stay down there and heal because they find a med kit or something. Then you're going to keep getting activations that you already know that are there. Think about your cooldown and activation time when you're going to make a loud noise notification being boom, 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 boom. Or the useless aura reveals. Think about all of these. Take the time, take a breather, look at what you're doing, assess it, make sure it's good for the game, and then ship it. Territorial imperative is completely fine. The reason why it activates while you're within a specific distance of it It's because you don't have to stack all of these dumbass effects on it. If you're within, I don't know, like somewhere around like tear radius, isn't it? But if you're within that specific distance of the basement, you are fairly nearby. So as soon as you get the effects from Imperative Operative, which it's not a fairly used perk, I might as well look it up so we can get the exact. Yep, right off the Huntress. There you go. Here you go. Yeah, it is tear radius. That's what I thought. Tear radius. 32 meters. 5 seconds of ore reveal. If your tear radius, essentially, your tear radius, so you're within 32 meters of the basement, and somebody walks in the basement, you can see their aura for 5 seconds. That is enough to let you know if they're going in for an unhook, that they're there. That's enough to let you know, if they're going in for a chest, to go into a locker, etc., etc. You're also within 32 meters. You do not get the loud noise notification, though. Keep that in mind. There is no boom or bang. You do have to be paying attention as a killer to see if anybody goes there. Well, there is no loud noise notification. I'm pretty sure there is like a small twing. It's been forever since I used the perk. It might have been changed or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure you get a small twing that brings your attention over and lets you know that somebody went into the basement. You do not want a loud noise notification for somebody going in the basement. Ever. Loud noise notification means something's happening. A survivor's hopping, a window or something like that. A gen has blown up. Things like that. Very locational, very, hey, a survivor is here and they're making a mistake. Or, you're in a chase and you've lost a survivor, they hop a window. Hey, you can get back on the chase. I don't need to hear this gigantic bang that a survivor's doing something. Just have the perk down on the bottom go bling and then it activate, turn on to let me know something's there. Or they have the cooldown time of 5 seconds, go around the particular portrait or something. You don't need anything hardcore for something like that. The undetectable status effect, you don't need it. You're 32 meters from basement. If you notice a survivor's down there, just spend that like 5 seconds, if you're on the edge of your tear radius, by the way. Spend the 5 seconds to walk over the basement and say hi to whoever's down there. If they hop into a locker, that is their counter. They can hop into a locker for the 5 seconds, then hop out of a locker and move or do whatever they need to do to cut off the ore reveal. That's part of Dead by Daylight's mechanics. If they want to do whatever they need to do, set up a head on or something like that, or whatever, let them do what they need to do. 5 seconds is more than enough. Locker, all of this weirdness that you're trying to add in here, it doesn't make sense. And with this, I'm assuming you're trying to make it anywhere on the map. If somebody enters the basement, then you get a loud noise notification. Who cares? If you're cross map in a chase or cross map doing something and somebody walks in the basement, who cares? Most people are going to use the undetectable status effect in the chase that they're in, as opposed to that. But if you're going to get the undetectable status effect, you would generally want it after somebody gets unhooked, rather than walking into the basement. Devour of Hope and tunneling and whatnot, or camping and whatnot. It gives you the jump. But, no. Again, this is trash. Beast, wait, hang on a second. Are you just hating on the Huntress and the beginning perks? Is this where we're at right now? This is Huntress's perk. This is a Huntress's perk. This is just a regular perk that's been around since almost, or actually, it might have been around since the game came out. I don't remember if it came out right afterwards or if it came out with the game. I know it's an early perk. Both of these are Huntress's perk. I'm pretty sure. No, no, they're not. Are they? Were they? What do I think about it? The Huntress's perk is the Huntress's Lullaby, Thrill of the Hunt, and Territorial Imperative? Well, it might have been in Territorial Imperative, might have switched to Beast of Prey, and might have switched to something else. I'm not entirely sure. But I know all of these are old perks that, well, now I want to say that's a Wraith perk. All of these are younger perks, basically, that came out with the game. Beast of Prey. Upon chasing a survivor, Beast of Prey activates. This is the original Beast of Prey. Against that, for as long it well, you gain the undetectable status effect whenever you get your Bloodlust 1 tier. And you keep the undetectable status effect for as long as Bloodlust is active. So, that's the beginning of it. This effect lingers and all of this does not exist. It's just the beginning of that. Reduce time to tear up Bloodlust by 6 seconds. You realize that be almost an instantaneous Bloodlust, right? You would get a very quick Bloodlust at 6 seconds. Even Ghostface don't even get his undetectable status effect back that fast, and that's really all he does is he marks and he does stealth. So the effects linger after leaving chase. Does not matter because as soon as you lose your bloodlust, you have to have hit somebody, broken a pallet of some sort, or have lost a chase. Doesn't matter if you have the undetectable status effect if you've lost the chase. Obviously, the survivors either gotten away from you or they're going to be waiting for your next move so they can continue to loop, counter, do whatever. You being undetectable doesn't matter because you were undetectable during the chase. So after the chase ends, it's not really a drastic change. Then 50% bonus blood points again. Meh. Again, another perk that they just threw some hubbub on. Let's see. These are interested. I think the smartest one is the Monstrous Shrine changed to Scorch Hooks. This is actually a really good idea, in my opinion. I've once talked about Monstrous Shrine being brought out of the basement and put on something like that as a potential idea, but I do remember saying at the end that it's not gonna really work. I mean, it's fine if it's, you know, a small increase. You know, you get thrown on a Scorch Hook, you lose 3 seconds. But why would you ever use that as opposed to, you know, Devour of Hope or Ruin or any other perk out there? Doesn't make it, you know, very well. This dumb motherfucker goes to say monsters trying to give you oblivious, blindness, and incapacitated when you enter the basement. That way you can enter lockers, which you can, by the way, if you're incapacitated. You can interact with lockers. Can't hear the killer coming. You can hear the killer coming. There are a lot of killers that make a lot of noise as they're approaching, by the way. You can hear most of the killers coming. There are some that you can't hear, obviously, but there are a majority of ones that you can hear because most killers make some sort of noise or make some sort of sound or they have some sort of lullaby or anthem or something like that that lets you know that they are around. You won't see any auras. Who cares? Who cares? Blindness is dumb. You won't see any auras. Why would you receive blindness when you're in the basement? There's a reason why the game doesn't do that. Well, you're in the basement, they completed a generator. Oh, well, your bitter murmur's just not gonna work anymore. No. This will just force survivors out of the basement regardless. It won't. It's not a thing about forcing survivors out of the basement. It's the fact that if a survivor gets hooked in the basement, any survivor going in to save them are going to be oblivious. So if a killer's camping or something like that with Insidious or anything like that, they're gonna get the free hit. Survivor's never gonna know. Blindness. So if there's really no use for it, because I mean, Kindred, things like that, they would see that the killer's standing there before anything. Undetectable does not override Kindred, so again, another reason why blindness just doesn't work. If you're going in for a save, blindness don't matter. If you're going in to do a chest or something like that, blindness don't matter. Incapacitated, absolutely dumb. Incapacitated, you can still search chests, you can still go in lockers, you can still do anything that you want to do in the particular basement. Okay, you can still unhook and everything, you just can't heal. So if you open up a chest and you pick the thing up, you can't heal yourself. You gotta leave the basement before you heal. That's the only thing you're forcing, is that they have to leave the basement before they can do anything. This guy has no idea what the hell he's talking about when you can't enter lockers. Incapacitated lets you enter lockers. You can hop in a locker, you can open a chest, you can do whatever you need to do. You just can't interact with other survivors or do any type of, you know, I want to say sensitive actions, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Specific interaction. You wouldn't even need to walk over as killer. If you're not planning on walking over to the basement as the killer, then what's the point in running this perk? You want survivors to go into the basement and do all of that. The game doesn't need to show the aura of whoever is in the basement as a foreman of things are not only going to be indistinguishable, but also forces killers to use their brain and survivor positioning. You're an idiot. You haven't played this game for long, son. The whole point is knowing when a survivor is going into the basement is to get the jump on them. If you are not necessarily a basement camping bubba, but a killer shack camping bubba, and you're messing with other people and you notice that somebody's going down for the unhook, that is a precious couple of seconds that you can get back in and get those swipes. You know, those precious couple of seconds is also why there's no loud notification. If a survivor jumps in the basement and you get a loud notification, the survivor's going, or killer's going to instantly turn and mess that survivor up. Whereas if they have to pay attention, they're going to be focused on chasing a survivor and looking back. If they catch the ass end of that survivor going for an unhook, like I said, that's precious seconds that you can already be back at kill shot to catch anybody trying to escape. But that's more imperative operative. Let's get back on track to Monstrous Shrine. Monstrous Shrine, the only purpose that it serves is to increase the sacrifice progress of anybody that has been unfortunate enough to be hooked in the basement. Imperative operative, completely fine. Monstrous Shrine, like I said, I've talked about taking the Monstrous Shrine hooks and taking them up stairs and making them into Scorch Hooks and things like that. But you would have to decrease the effects that you have because Scorch Hooks are readily available, whereas Basement actually requires, a little finesse to get into unless the survivor goes down on top of it. So you're going to actually have to nerf and rebalance everything or make it harder to get the effects because the hooks are readily available. I'm not going to. I'm not gonna go through all of this. This guy obviously, Breads, doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I'm not gonna go into detail over an idiot that's probably only has like 50 hours in the game. If that. It's kind of like just pack it up and go home, bro. You're bad. Play the game more, learn what you're talking about, and then come back. Killers do not need a fifth perk slot. I'm just gonna click on this and hop. Uh, I can't go back that way. Killers do not need a fifth perk. You know how bad and devastating that would be for a killer to be able to run a fifth perk as part of a specific build. Like, Jesus. For example, imagine just an all Hex Totem build, your general Ruin, Hex Undyne, Haunted Grounds, etc., etc. Imagine having 5 hexes activated, that is a hex per every totem. Especially if you're running like Hex Pinmento or something. As they destroy them, you can just rekindle them and keep that 20% repair speed bonus going. Or deficit, not bonus. Minus 20% bonus, I guess, if you're a hero. A hero killer. Holy shit. You know what I'm saying. Fifth perk slot concept for killers. Jesus Christ. My dude doesn't understand the ranking system, is what that tells me. Excuse me. If you are a killer, you are not required to get 4-piece sacrifices to rank up. Like the survivors, it's all based on your playstyle and how well you do. if you are doing the right thing as a killer and making the right moves, you will always pip up. And even if you're having a bad game, you'll still safety pip. Mm. So it's not that huge of a deal. Fifth perk thing is try hard. I want 4 every time. And I'm going to build the ultimate build with all the bullshit perks. Because running meta or going against the killer with meta perks and a meta killer is takes a larger amount of skill than somebody that's just trying out a new killer. Mm. And then we're giving fifth perk slot to killers and nothing to survivors. Nothing. No boost in repair speed, no extra health state, no nothing. It's just killers get buffed and everybody else does. I mean, talk about being killer sided. Ridiculous. The fact that anybody would even suggest such a thing, I'm surprised they didn't get flamed out of the community altogether. I'm gonna end it there for the day. That was a very interesting Dead by Daylight creation review. So thank you anybody stopping by. And as always, supplement your lifestyle, and I will see you next time. This creation form needs help. I wasn't going to, but I mean, eventually I'm going to have to make like a syllabus or something, or some sort of guide or template that people can just delete the words off of, copy, and follow so they can get these reviews nailed down. Because holy crap, they need it. Anyway, I got somebody at the door, so yeah, I have to end this a little bit early. So, see you guys. Peace.